let's give Joanne a big round of applause, okay?
Before I get started, while they're getting the electronics set up, I wanted to let you know that on every table, this legal-size piece of paper is for afterwards. These are discussion topics that might be able to help you with things. This is my year-end newsletter. Since it's so close to the end of the year, I figured I would use up what I had left. And inside of that is a sheet you might want to take a few notes on as I'm going of how this village might affect your life or somebody that you love. So while look at that. Oh, I'm big in color. Okay. So, yes, I am the founder of Seniors on a Mission. It is for those that don't know, that didn't raise your hand and say, yeah, they know me. We've been around for 25 years, and we've had 2 different adult programs. I've taken senior adults on day-long mission trips, or what we call service opportunities. That's what the world calls them. We call them mission trips. They're 5 to 6 hour windows of time where groups of 12 to 50 people come together and knock out a really large project for a local nonprofit. We have helped more than 125 of your local nonprofit organizations here in Jacksonville, and that's just a few of them. Since the pandemic, we have also taught thousands of senior adults one-on-one how to use their handheld devices, whether it be a cell phone or a tablet. They get an hour of time individually, one-on-one with their trainer, to learn their specific device, which is key. The surveys are overwhelmingly affirmed that the seniors truly appreciate this program. But it was 3 years ago when I talked with my father, who actually happens to be here today, at the end of his driveway in Canada, that God quickly gave me the direction for the next 20 years of how I would be serving the Lord.
So it's important.
Sorry?
It's important.
It's very important. Oh, it's imported, yes. It started in Canada. My 79-year-old father told me not to worry, that when my mom died, he would go and live in the senior center next door to his home. What he didn't know is that the place that he'd lived next to for 25 years had spiraled downward into what I would call an old age home. And most of you wouldn't have let your dog live there. He left me at the end of the driveway, and he walked down to his beloved workshop to spend a few hours tinkering to create some of our family's most treasured woodworking gifts. Literally that day, I looked towards heaven and said, okay, what are we going to do about this? Because my father's not going to live there. I knew quickly that God wasn't talking to me just about making sure that Dad had a suitable place to live. It was about creating a Christ-centered, purpose-oriented, middle-income senior living for everyone. Changing also the way people see an entire segment of our population. Providing housing for people who are essentially stuck between living in the house they raised their 4 kids in, which is now becoming the American nightmare because it needs so many repairs, versus the American dream that it was 50 years ago. A place to serve God and others rather than an exorbitant 55-plus community with the amenities galore that nobody wants or really wants to pay for. The Bible says in Luke that we are to count the cost. And whoever does not bear this cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intended to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to mock him, saying that this man began building and was not able to finish. This doesn't only speak about wise business practices and making plans and budgets and contracts. It speaks to commitment. Does the person that God assigns a task to have the faith and the perseverance in God to see the end of the project? Well, 3 years ago, I came to this very summit, alive like crazy, after having just talked to my dad, and I presented hot off the God press, the vision of what I believed God was asking me to do. Wow, was that a long time ago and so far off of what God wanted. Great people in this community have met with me over the past 36 months. I think Eric Sharp was earlier here today. Buck Smoke, Kevin Hyde, and of course, some of you know Jack Manila. He gave me 4 hours of his life for an entire year, for the first year of this, to help me learn how to write a business plan. And in learning how to write a business plan, oh my gosh, I learned so much. But the education that I got, Collie, I see you here, Skip and Dick Erickson, you've been priceless. And Janet and Jim and Mike, they've encouraged me without fail. It's been a learning process for me and a true confirmation that this senior living community is needed and can be accomplished. So it's G3 Village, giving God glory. We all know the problems of not aging successfully. Isolation, loneliness, poor eating habits, dehydration, which often leads to UTIs and misdiagnosed delirium. Deteriorating, I heard that there. Deteriorating health generally due to inactivity, the lack of community of believers that engage on a regular basis to be that iron that sharpens iron. Church attendance for senior adults has dropped dramatically since COVID. Many feel that just watching TV on church is sufficient. But God never called us to be an island. He called us to be in community. Originally, in the Garden of Eden, we were told to tend the garden, to tend the earth. Jeremiah 29:5 is what really I've hung on to. Build houses, homes, and settle down. Plan to stay. Plant gardens and eat the food they produce. G3 Village is a place designed by seniors for seniors. Not one step up in the entire place. Later you'll see some sample cottages and they've got 3 steps up. Don't believe it. It's all going to be on ground floor. The housing is intentionally designed with age-in-place accommodations, wider doorways and hallways, strategic senior-specific handrails, different than handrails. Did you know that the government legally required handrails were meant for 29-year-old war veterans that came back and had upper body strength enough to be able to get themselves. Senior adults don't have that. And the handrails that are meant for them are totally different. Just a little thing you need to know in case you're building your own house, just FYI. Lighting that kills bacteria. Light switches in the right places. Also, motion detecting lights, so that in the middle of the night, as you're walking through, the lights come on before you get there so that you don't have a fall. 0 threshold showers, fold down benches, higher toilets, the whole deal. G3 Village is a place to have farm to table, organic, healthy eating. I got an amen. All the properties we're investigating have trees and soil that have never been polluted with toxic chemicals. Now, I know we live in a world where there's toxic chemicals just about everywhere, but they haven't purposely been dumped on. That's what I'm working towards. By having raised garden beds and aquaponic greenhouses and hydroponics, every herb, fruit, and veggie that we need can literally be grown on site. We have designed around the outer edge of the village property, and I'll get to a picture where I'll show you that indeed. A 20-foot wide by 1,800 feet around. There will be rotational grazing, and if you don't understand what that means, you can talk to me about that later. That will enable us, as the villagers, to eat meat from animals that are not fed with toxic pastures. 2 cows will supply all the dairy for this village of anywhere from 30 to 40 people. Sheep, pigs, chickens will provide delicious protein. Pasture-raised eggs will feed not only the village, but half of the neighborhood. And then, of course, G3 Village is a place to have purpose. While rent on their unit will be due monthly, there will also be a weekly minimum of a 10-hour service commitment. Everybody will have an opportunity to serve. Service hours can be varied based on their skill, on their desire, on their ability, the whole gamut. For example, collecting the eggs, feeding the chickens, cooking a meal, tending gardens, feeding the fish, milking a cow, which I already have an 87-year-old woman who called me when she got the information. She said, Joanne, I used to milk the cow. That was my job. Okay, we'll see. Deliver meals to sick co-villagers, help with the rotational grazing, water the animals, or nurture baby chicks each growing cycle. And once the village is established and flourishing, some of our residents may want to host a field trip for local school kids so that they could learn about agriculture, animal husbandry, and rural, restful living. G3 Village is a place to grow as a human being, and I hope you and I can spend more time together. As said, iron sharpens iron. At G3 Village, we seek to help people grow in the Lord. We can use the activity room for church services, classes, inner healing opportunities, the whole gamut. And we're also we're seeking a partnership, and it looks good right now, with Biblical Training Online Seminary. Chuck Coker knows all about that, to provide classes that can be attended in a group online setting where the seniors, anyone 55 plus, can audit the class or take it for credit. You are on my time. Now,
You're right.
to switch to the business side of the village. G3 Village is a rental opportunity that middle-income 55-plus seniors can afford, rather than a $500,000 or $1 million buy-in that is pretty typical at places like Fleet Landing, Westminster Woods, or Vickers Landing. G3 Village is incorporating a refundable $100,000 community deposit into the G3 Giving God Glory independent living community. We have naming rights that are available for every building or plot or stone on site. Once it's built, the village is self-sustainable until Jesus comes back. We are also building into our plan a prepaid rent opportunity where people can lock in the rental rate today and they can prepay for 5 years. Now, they know that this isn't going to be built for at least 2 years, but their first 5 years of renting there will have already been paid. That rents include the rent, the utilities, 2 organic healthy meals every day, the parking, and a whole lot more. This new village will have 25 to 30 units of living. 21 of the units will be in one common house. 4 to 9 of them will be separate cottages per se, with garages opposed to in the common house, there will be carports. So G3 Village is for those who want to live their days out with purpose. Now, this village isn't going to make a dent in the housing crisis that we have in Jacksonville right now. But if this pioneer project here in Jacksonville works, it will work across our country. Our country needs Jacksonville to create this and prove this proof of concept lifestyle to help middle-income senior adults everywhere. G3 Village is a wonderful place to grow old together with people that have faith commonalities that draw them into community rather than pull them apart. People who love being outdoors, who enjoy a more rural setting with a slower, peaceful pace of life. A place where serving is top of mind. a place where the golden rule reigns. Love God with all that you are and love your neighbor as yourself. G3 Village is a sanctuary of wellness in body, soul, and spirit for people